Hey everybody, welcome back to Making Memories. My name is Michael and I'm glad to be sharing with you today some fun tips and tricks, things you definitely want to know if you're thinking about going on a cruise adventure. These things are going to save you a ton of money. I've spent some time really researching, trying to figure out the best ways to save the most amount of money for your cruise. The 11 tips not to forget if you're trying to save the most money possible on your cruise adventure. First tip, flexible dates. What do I mean by flexible dates? It means you got to find a time that works for you, yes, of course, but also if you can go during a certain time of year known as wave season, fall, kind of late fall, during hurricane season, you'll be able to save a ton of money on the cruise ships. Now, it does depend on the cruise line, how full they are, and what the year looks like, because in recent years, we've seen a lot of changes to how cruising works. A lot of people have pent-up demand, so wave season isn't quite the same as other times that we've seen wave season before. However, you can still save a ton if you're able to go during hurricane season. It's just because most people don't want to take the risk. There is an inherent risk to going on a cruise when it's hurricane season. More hurricanes, right? Your cruise could potentially be out at sea longer. No, I don't think many people are going to complain about that, especially if the seas are nice, or canceled altogether. It does happen, not super common, but if you are able to kind of move your schedule around and go during hurricane season, basically that's the best way to think about it, you are going to be able to save a lot of money. You can even look it up today. You can go on any cruise website and see the difference between going on a cruise in April and going on a cruise in September. There's a huge difference. The second tip is to book early. This is really, really important if you are thinking about going on a cruise. The earlier you book, the better. Now, this is actually counterintuitive to another tip I'm going to be sharing with you in a minute, but if you are able to book earlier, you are able to get a room that you really want at a relatively good rate. Now, last minute rates are a thing too. We're going to talk about that in a minute, but if you are thinking about some further destination, so you're thinking about going to Alaska, or you're thinking about going to somewhere in Europe, and you really want to go, booking earlier is going to allow you the flexibility of being able to find the restaurants you want, being able to find the stateroom that you want with the price that you want, right? So maybe there's let's just call it a level stateroom, level 33, right? And 33's got 3 categories, like A, B, and C. You're able to choose right there and then which category because there's a lot of availability because you're booking earlier. If you book last minute, you get a different kind of deal, which I'm going to get into right now. Third tip, and I like to use this one more than most, booking last minute. This is where you can find some unbelievable deals. And when I say last minute, I mean 3 or 4 days prior to your cruise, or even closer than that. As a Floridian, I love doing this. I actually just did it for the MSC Divina cruise that we went on. I paid a fraction of the price that I was planning on paying because I booked this cruise, I think about 3 days prior to the sailing. That is how close I was. Did I get the exact things that I wanted on board? Maybe I could have gotten a different room if I had booked earlier, but by booking that much later, I saved a ton. Now, the different cruise lines are going to advertise this in a different way. Some cruise lines are going to say, hey, you know what, you can get this, special offer, and they'll have those special offers that happen for like Labor Day or special holidays, Christmas time. You'll be able to get these special deals, but at the same time, if you wait, maybe the last minute booking will be less expensive than the special deals. Something to keep in mind. Now, you are taking a chance because if you don't live close by, your schedule's not that flexible, there's a chance that they will completely sell out. That does happen. So if you're thinking about it for your entire family, your whole family's vacation, everybody planning together, I would actually avoid it. Unless everybody's happy doing something totally different and you have a backup plan to do something totally separate. Some people are going to be okay with this, but I think most are not. So if you can book last minute, it's great. If you can't, try and book earlier. The fourth tip, I touched on it a little bit, wait for those special deals throughout the year. Different cruise lines are going to run special promotions, whether it be kids sail free or free specialty dining or even free excursions or Wi-Fi. Some special deals that they run throughout the year. The reason they do this is to entice guests to come and sail with them. Sometimes these deals coincide with wave season, hurricane season, so they kind of try and advertise these to make them even better. But if you wait for those deals, if you don't want to book last minute, this may be your best option because you'll have the flexible dates. That's true, but then you'll find a really good deal. Now, some cruise lines have gotten a little crafty with this, and they'll say, hey, you want to get a good deal, look at this great deal, but they actually kind of change up the pricing a little bit so it looks like a better deal than it really is. So as an example, let's say you see a cruise, looks great, stateroom you want for $2,000. And then they say, oh, we've got this special deal where each guest sails for, I'm just going to give you a random example, $800. Oh, that sounds like a great deal. Instead of $2,000, you're paying for $1,600. Okay, that sounds really good. But in addition, there's like dining, which is included, but they don't say that there's the service charge in addition to it, which costs an extra $250. You know what I mean? Things can add up like that. So just look at the numbers. Some cruise lines are pretty open about it. Others kind of, you get to the final page of booking and you see that they've added all these extra charges. So that does happen from time to time. Just be aware of it, but something to keep an eye out for, right? These special promotions can and do save guests a lot of money, and you get some extra things when you're on board, which is a ton of fun. Tip number 5, go for the upgrade program. Now, not every cruise line has this. Disney Cruise Line does not have this, but Royal Caribbean is a good example where you have the ability to upgrade your stateroom as you get closer and closer to the actual sailing date. It's called Royal Up for Royal Caribbean, and a lot of other cruise lines have it too. But just in this example, the Royal Up program allows you to more or less bid for the higher tier stateroom instead of the one that you're currently in. Pretend you're in a veranda and you're bidding for concierge. Maybe other people see this deal as well, and everybody kind of puts in their bid, and hypothetically, certain bids win and some don't, depending on how many rooms that they have. But you're able to bid for the room that you want, and you're able to get maybe an upgrade for less of the cost that it would have, cost you to go full and get that upgrade from the beginning. Just as an example. So look out for those roll-up emails. They do come through in your email in advance of the cruise. Usually it's a couple of weeks, maybe a month or two in advance of your cruise. Number 6, make sure you book those excursions in advance. Why do you want to do this? Well, first of all, sometimes they offer promotions in addition to the special offers that they do. Sometimes they have free excursions and all that, and you can book these in advance, which are great. But in addition, if you try and book them on board, they're no doubt going to be more expensive. I mean, it's possible that it's the exact same price, but many cruise lines offer a discount if you buy it in advance of the cruise. So that's something to be aware of. In addition, when you get to the port, you don't want to be scrambling looking for one of those last minute excursions because the best ones are now gone, right? So being able to save yourself a little bit of money and get the best excursions is going to make the whole cruise that much more fun. Number 7, and this is a popular one, bring your own alcohol. Now, this is very important. Make sure you look at the website for your specific cruise, right? Your cruise line, make sure you know the rules because some cruise lines allow this, others don't, and some limit it significantly. And before you start saying to yourself, oh, Michael, I know some secrets to use mouthwash. No, that doesn't work. So yeah, don't do that. Some cruise lines do allow you to just bring 2 bottles of champagne as an example. If you enjoy alcohol, maybe that's a good way to kind of get the party started for you, just as an example. But that's going to save you some money because, of course, on board, the alcohol is very expensive, but they do that intentionally. That's just kind of one of the big ways they make money. It does make sense. So however ways you can kind of bring alcohol with you, it's going to save you a bunch. Seriously, though, I have heard stories of people trying to just kind of smuggle alcohol on board in mouthwash containers. That doesn't work. They know about this. They search your bag basically for these things. They know. They figured it out. Don't do that. Number 8, great way to save money on board, and I've used it many times. Book your next cruise while on board the current one. You can save anywhere between, I think it's about 10 and 15%, depending on the cruise line that you're on. And some of them will actually offer you the ability to book the cruise later on. You don't have to choose it when you're on board. You can just get the credit and then use that credit towards that future cruise that you want to go on. You can pick it later once you get home, which I love. Why not get that? Why not? And many of them will actually refund you your money if you don't choose another cruise by the time, I think it's 2 years passes, but it does depend. Please look up those rules and check with the person who's working with you on that cruise ship. But most of the time, it's really a win-win. So saving money while on board for the next cruise. Another great way to save money for a cruise is to drive to the port if possible. There are some people who can, some people who can't. If I was living in Maryland, right, and I was going to a Disney cruise, would I drive to the port in Florida? No, I wouldn't, just to give you an example. But if you are relatively close, 2-3 hours, maybe even 4 away, it might save you a bunch to drive, if at all possible. I know a lot of people do fly in for these cruises, but that's just one extra tip. If you can, it does save you some money to drive. That being said, parking at the port can be very expensive. So it depends. You got to kind of do the calculus a little bit. Is it more expensive to fly and pay the flight, or is it more expensive to actually park at the port? You got to look at those numbers. Tip number 10 to save you some money on board when you're thinking about cruising, avoid the brand new cruise ships. Now, I'm giving you this advice because I used it myself for the Disney Wish. A lot of my friends have gone. I've heard some mixed reviews on the Disney Wish. Of course, we'll be going ourselves before you know it. But by not going immediately, it saves a ton of money, and I'll be able to go on 2 wishes, or maybe even more, right? Be able to save a lot of money by not going on that very first sailing. Now, I do not deny that being on the first one is a lot of fun, and those who were on it had a great time. You get to have that memory. You can always say, I was the first one on board the Disney Wish or whatever cruise you're going on. Keep in mind, though, these ships last for between 20 and 30 years, some of them even longer. So you'll definitely get your opportunity, if you want it, on this brand new ship that will still be relatively new after a year or two. So just something to think about. The inaugural sailings are always more expensive, and more often than not, they're not 100% ready to go on that very first sailing. We saw examples of that on, of course, the Disney Wish and even Royal Caribbean's Wonder of the Seas. So it does happen, and it can save you a lot of money to just wait a few cruises after it's already started sailing. Tip number 11. This is going to be one that I have mixed feelings about this one. I really do, because I know that some of them do an amazing job, but take your own photos on board. In recent years, I have stopped paying for the photo package on board a lot of the cruise ships. The reason for that is I feel like they're a bit overpriced. That's just me. I feel like they're a little overpriced, and so I kind of can take really good photos. I really enjoy them, and off I go, right? Yes, there are photos that the photographers can get a really good shot of, but that being said, I can save a ton of money, use that money towards excursions or specialty dining, and then take my own photos. Let's be honest, cell phones and your own camera can do a fantastic job as well, especially if you know how to use it. So it's something that I have really appreciated. I will definitely be buying photo packages in the future, but I'm only going to do it for very significant cruises, right? So if it's like a big family reunion, I'm going to get the photo package, right? Or if it's like some super special cruise. I love cruising a lot, so I'm on a lot of them, so I don't usually get the photo package anymore, but it's just one of those things that I've found has saved me a lot of money, because some of these photo packages can be really expensive. Just one other way to save money. I sure hope these tips help save you money as you are thinking about, and maybe you're just planning that next cruise adventure. Try and kind of import some of these ideas into your planning, and you will no doubt save at least a little bit of money as you're getting ready to sail off into the seven seas. A very special thank you to our patrons for making all of our videos possible, and thanks to you for being a part of it with me. Until next time, have a magical day, and I'll see you real soon.